Today's class we are going to learn about the few more systems of the Ferritima, and in that the first one is the blood vascular system. And in case of the Ferritima, the blood vascular system, and not only in Ferritima belongs to the phylum Annelida, and in all the annelids blood vascular system actually appeared for the first time. And the system, the circulatory system starts from the phylum Annelida onwards and almost present in the all the animals and present in the animal kingdom. And before that, whatever the phylums that you studied, in that you don't come across the circulatory system, and this phylum onwards and the circulatory system actually gets starts, and under that phylum the Ferritima actually belongs to the phylum Annelida. It is provided with the well developed blood vascular system, and that too it is of a closed type, which means the blood always flows inside the blood vessels itself, and it's a closed type, and it's provided with the blood vessels are present, capillaries are present, and also provided with the heart like structures are also present. And when you look at the blood vascular system, diagrammatic part of the blood vascular system of the Ferritima, it is provided with a several number of the network of the blood vessels are present inside the body, and this provided with the blood vessels of the body, and of course inside them the blood flows, and the hearts are also present and along with the capillaries. And of all these, the first one is the blood vessels, and the major blood vessels that are present inside the body get divided into longitudinal blood vessels and the transverse blood vessel. Among all the longitudinal blood vessels, the major blood vessel is actually the dorsal blood vessel that is present, and because it is exactly present on the dorsal side of the body, running from the posterior end to the anterior end, the long blood vessel is present, and the blood actually moves from the posterior to the anterior end. And a peristaltic wave like movement starts that makes the blood to move from the posterior to the anterior end. So that is a major blood vessel present inside the body. And again, below the alimentary canal, there is another blood vessel is present running from the almost from anterior end to the posterior end, which is called the ventral blood vessel. And this blood vessel actually responsible for the collection of the blood from the different parts of the alimentary canal. And dorsal blood vessel is a blood vessel responsible for the supplying, that is the distributing, whereas a ventral blood vessel is actually the collecting blood vessel, and that is present inside the body. These are the two major longitudinal blood vessels. Apart from that, there is another blood vessel present below the nerve cord, that is called a subneural blood vessel is present and below the nerve cord, and it anteriorly continues as another blood vessel called lateral esophageal blood vessel. And the subneural blood vessel actually continues anteriorly as a lateral esophageal blood vessel. These two are actually the collecting blood vessels, and there is another blood vessel present on the 9th to the 13th above the alimentary canal of this part, and that is above the stomach, and this blood vessel we named as supraesophageal blood vessel, and supraesophageal blood vessel. So this is actually the ventral blood vessel, and this is actually the subneural blood vessel. So subneural blood vessel and the ventral blood vessel, and this is actually the ventral blood vessel. There's two blood vessels are present, and in addition to that, there is another blood vessel present running from the 13th to the anterior on the lateral sides of the alimentary canal. This we call it as lateral esophageal blood vessel. So lateral esophageal blood vessel, subneural blood vessel, ventral and the supraesophageal, all are collecting blood vessels, whereas the dorsal blood vessel is mainly the distributing blood vessel. In addition to that, there are the hearts are also present, and so in the 7th segment, 9th segment, 11th and 12th, and there are 4 pairs of hearts are present, and 1 pair in each segment. And in 7th and 9th, 2 pairs, and 11th and 12th and the 13th, and another 2 pairs are present, and they are called the hearts, and they are again divided into 2 different types. And in 7th and 9th, they are called lateral hearts. In 12 and 13, they are called lateral esophageal hearts. And in first 2 pairs connect the dorsal blood vessel with the ventral blood vessel, whereas the second 2 pairs connect not only the dorsal and ventral, but also connect the supraesophageal blood vessel. And because they also connect the supraesophageal blood vessel, they are called lateral esophageal hearts. And like that, the Ferritima has totally got 4 pairs of hearts are present. There are another blood vessels present after the 13th segment and connecting the dorsal and ventral segments. They are called transverse blood vessels, which are called commissural blood vessels, and they are also the important blood vessels that are present and which makes the flow of the blood from ventral to the dorsal. Then another blood vessels present connecting the lateral and supraesophageal blood vessels present in the segments 10 and 11. They are the one pair in each segment. They are called anterior loops. And like this, there are the different kinds of the blood vessels that are present inside the peritoneum. Then in addition to that, there are the blood glands are also present in the peritoneum in the segments 4, 5, 6 segments, and in the in this region and at this region 4, 5, 6 segments in this region, and the important glands present in the body of the peritoneum, they are called blood glands, and they are responsible for the production of the hemoglobin, and they are also responsible for the production of the blood corpuscles. And so here at this region they are present, and blood glands, and 4th, 5th, 6th, and red follicular masses like structures that are present helps in the production of the hemoglobin, also some blood corpuscles. And the hemoglobin here is actually not present inside the cells, and it is actually dissolved. It is dissolved inside the plasma, so present in a dissolved state. And in the 4th, 5th, 6th segments, and blood glands are present. These blood glands are red follicular glands that are responsible for the production of the hemoglobin, and also the blood cells are produced. And the hemoglobin in case of the peritoneum dissolved inside the plasma, that gives the imparts the red color to the blood. And here the pigment is not present inside the blood vessels, and it is actually present in the dissolved state within the plasma. Then the blood cells that are present inside the peritoneum are phagocytic in nature, and so this is actually about anyway, the blood is present inside, and we already studied in the tissues the blood performs the different types of the functions, and the same functions do also perform here in the peritoneum. The functions of the blood is anyway it is the same. And so this is all about the different kinds of the blood vessels, and their longitudinal and transverse and hearts, and about the blood glands. And coming to the another system that is present inside the body of the peritoneum actually, and that is the respiratory. And actually in peritoneum lacks a specialized respiratory system, and there are no specialized excretory organs and that are not yet evolved, and in case of the peritoneum. And here the sole respiration of the peritoneum, it is actually performed by the moist skin itself. And so the skin is always kept moist by the moist burrows, and also a continuous oozing of the coelomic fluid from the dorsal pores, and makes the skin moist, and that skin only helps in the exchange of the gases. And so here, because the moist skin actually helping in the respiration of the peritoneum, we call it this kind of the respiration as cutaneous respiration. And so simply the exchange of the gases occurs from the body surface by means of diffusion. And then coming to the another kind of the next system in the body of the peritoneum, that is excretory system. And now there are the specialized excretory organs are developed, or the well developed excretory system is present in case of the peritoneum. So excretory organs in peritoneum are called nephridia, and these nephridia are tubular structures, and the tubular structures, and they are also coiled structures, and which are present inside the body of the peritoneum, they are called nephridia. So before we actually move on to the actual excretory system of the peritoneum, we need to learn about a typical nephridium, which is actually required, and to understand the different kinds of the nephridia that are present. A typical nephridium, it is provided with it's a tubular coiled structure. And in this tubular coiled structure, we have got a funnel-like structure is present, and this funnel-like structure is provided with a cilia, and which opens into the coelom, helps in the collection of the waste materials. And this funnel-like coelom opens into a coiled tubular part, and like this. And a coiled tubular part is present, and this coiled tubular part finally ends with an opening. And so the initial part we call it as the nephrostome, the funnel-like structure which extracts the waste from the coelomic fluid. The remaining rest of the part of the body we call it as, the remaining part of the nephridium we call it as body of nephridium. Body of nephridium. and finally it has got the last part of the nephridium we call terminal ductum, and which opens outside with an opening called nephridioporon. So like this, the different parts are actually present. Now ciliated funnel-like structure which opens into the coelom, extract the waste from the coelom. Then another one, they keep on moving to the another part of the nephridium called body of the nephridium. And the body of the nephridium actually divided into the three parts, and those are which inside that one we provided with a cilia are present. That particular part is called a ciliated part, and the next part which we call it as glandular part. This is the part which is actually richly supplied with the blood supply. Extract the waste from the blood, that's why it is called the glandular part. This part we call it as a glandular part, and the last part of this body of the nephridium we call it as muscular part, which helps in whose contractions help in pushing the waste towards the terminal duct, and this terminal duct finally opens outside through an opening called nephridioporon. So this is actually all the parts that are present for a typical nephridium, and which is present in case of the other earthworms. But this kind of the nephridium is actually absent in the earthworm that we are studying, that is the Pheretima postumum. Then why we study the typical nephridium? This is the nephridium which is provided with all the characteristic features, and nephrostome, body of the nephridium, and the terminal duct, nephridioporum, because all the parts are present. In order to understand the the type of the nephridia that are present in the Pheretima, we need to know about the actual nephridium which is provided with all the characteristic features. And now move on to the actual nephridia that are present in our Pheretima. In Pheretima, based on their location, the nephridia are actually get divided into three different types of the nephridia. These three different nephridia, they are classified based on their location inside the body. The pharyngeal nephridia, which are located near to the pharynx region, and the nephridia that are attached to the inner wall of the body wall, they are called integumentary nephridia, and the nephridia that are arranged on either side of the septum. Like this, each segment is surrounded by septum on either side of the septum exactly, and they are arranged, and that's why they are called as septal nephridium. So septal nephridium, integumentary nephridium, and the pharyngeal nephridium, based on their location, and they are given the name. Pharyngeal nephridia are located near to the pharynx region, and whereas the integumentary nephridia are attached to the body wall, septal nephridia are present on this. So based on their arrangement, they are given to the names, and so that's why the location is actually the important. And septal nephridia are present and attached to the either side of the septum, integumentary nephridia are attached to the inner side of the body wall, pharyngeal nephridia are present on either side of the pharynx and esophagus. So based on their location, they have given the three different names. And now in which segments they are actually located. And septal nephridia are present on either side of the septum. So when we call the septum, because septum is present in between the two segments, and this septum actually belongs to the two segments. And so for example, it is a 15th segment, it is a 16th segment, the septum actually belongs to the two segments. And so the septal nephridia are actually arranged on either side of the septum. So they starts from 15th by 16th onwards and extended up to the last segment. And so from the 15th by 16th to they extend up to the last segment, whereas the integumentary nephridia starts from the third segment present up to the last segment attached to the inner side of the body wall. And whereas pharyngeal nephridia are located in the segments where blood glands are actually present, and that is in the 4th, 5th, 6th segments they are actually present. Now coming to the number, and in how many numbers they are actually present. And septal nephridia, in each segment they starts about 80 to 100, and they are arranged in 4 rows. Each row consists of the 20 to 25, and in each segment in total 80 to 100 are present from 16th to last but one. But in the 15th and last segment, there are actually 40 to 50 are present. But in total, we can say that in each segment, we actually provided with the 80 to 100. Whereas integumentary nephridia, they starts from third segment present up to the last segment. They are at about the 22, they are at about 200 to 250 in number. In each segment, starting from third to the till the last end. But whereas interestingly, if you see at the in the clitellar region, these integumentary nephridia are very large in number. The integumentary nephridia, when it comes to in each and every segment starting from third to the last 200 to 250 are only present. But in the clitellar region, that is in the 14th and 15th and 16th segment, their number increases at about 10 times. So that means almost 2000 to 2500 they are present. So they are so densely and heavily packed and attached to the inner surface of the body wall. The integumentary nephridia present in the clitellar region are called forests of nephridion. They are only the integumentary nephridion. Because of their large number, they are given the name, and that is forests of nephridia. Forests of nephridia are nothing but the integumentary nephridion. Then pharyngeal nephridia are located in case of the numbers are 80 to 100, 200 to 250. Now coming to the pharyngeal nephridia, they are present in tufts, that means they are present in bunches. So like that, each bunch consists of nearly the 40 to 50, and they are more in number actually, are numerous in number actually. So they are actually the one pair in each segment. In fourth segment one pair, fifth one pair, sixth one pair, like they are arranged in tufts and bunches. So like this, in the around on either side of the pharynx and esophagus, they are seen as tufted, and so that's why they are also called as tufted nephridion. And coming to as we studied the typical nephridium, this is the reason why we studied earlier the typical nephridium, to understand the structures. So in septal nephridium, nephrostome is actually present. So the type of the nephridium which is provided with a nephrostome, such kind of the nephridium is called open type, which helps in collecting the excretory waste from the coelom. So septal nephridium is provided with the nephrostome, so it is called open kind of the nephridium. Whereas the other two nephridiums, nephrostome is actually absent. So that's why a nephridium without nephrostome we call it as closed type of nephridium. Coming to the nephriospore, in the typical nephridium we already studied that the terminal duct opens outside with an opening called nephriospore that helps in discharging the waste outside through the body wall. So nephriospore is present, but whereas in case of the septal nephridium, this nephriospore is actually absent. But where it opens, and septal nephridium opens directly into the intestine. So as they are discharging the waste into the intestine, that kind of the nephridia are called enteronephric nephridium. So those nephridia without nephriospore discharging their waste into the intestine are called enteronephric nephridium. Whereas integumentary nephridia are provided with a nephriospore. That's what we studied earlier in case of the pores. From third segment to the last segment, irregularly arranged numerous number of the pores are present called nephriospores, helps in discharging the waste. So those pores are actually belong to the integumentary nephridion. So which are discharging the waste outside through the body wall with the help of nephriospore. That kind of nephridia are called exonephric. Then coming to the pharyngeal nephridia, they actually open, they also not provide with the nephriospore, they discharge their waste into pharynx and esophagus. It's a part of the alimentary canal, so we also call it as enteronephric. Enteron means alimentary canal, so they are also classified as enteronephric nephridium. So based on this nephrostome and nephriospore, septal nephridia are called open enteronephric, integumentary nephridia are called closed exonephric, pharyngeal nephridia are called closed enteronephric. In that way we classify. So they open into the buccal cavity. Coming to the functional aspect of the excretory system, functional aspects of this nephridia. Of course we know that nephridia are the excretory in function, but all the nephridia helps in excretion, that is extraction of the waste from the body and eliminating outside the body. But whereas there are some nephridia we saw over here, that is pharyngeal nephridia and the septal nephridia. In addition to the excretion, because they are discharging the waste into the alimentary canal, so alimentary canal part is provided with a rectum. That rectal part helps in the absorption of the waste from the excretory waste substances, and so they helps in actually the conservation of water. And in that way they not only helps in excretion but also helps in osmoregulation. whereas integumentary nephridia discharging the waste, excretory waste directly outside the body, so they do not help in the conservation of water inside the body, and so they only helps in excretion, whereas the septal nephridia and pharyngeal nephridia helps in osmoregulation. So the ferritima, the major excretory product that is formed inside the body of the ferritima is of course the urea. So animals that generally excrete the urea as their excretory product, such animals are called ureotelic animals. And so the nephridia and ferritima helps in both excretion as well as osmoregulation. Based on the type of the excretory product excreted by the ferritima, that is urea, so earthworm is regarded as ureotelic animal. And so this is the excretory system of the ferritima. In addition to the nephridia and ferritima, there are another kind of the cells that are present inside the body, and they are called chlorogozan cells, and that also helps in excretion. They contain the yellowish granules, and which are called chlorogosomes, and which are yellow in color. They are also called the yellow cells. And so these chlorogozan cells, which are actually attached to the inner lining of the attached to the elementary canal, they extract the waste from the coelomic fluid, and when they totally filled up with the nitrogenous waste materials, and they discharge from the elementary canal and freely fall into the coelomic fluid, and those chlorogozan cells which are fully loaded with these nitrogenous waste materials fall into the coelomic fluid are called ileocytes, and which are in turn get collected by the septal nephridion. So chlorogozan cells are almost they functionally similar to that of the liver of vertebrates, and whatever the functions that are performed by the liver, almost apart from the excretion and all, chlorogozan cells also perform the different types of the functions, and various metabolic reactions occur inside them. So that's why they are comparable to the liver of the vertebrates. And so this is the nephridia and the chlorogozan cells that are present inside the body of the ferritima helps in the excretion. Let's move on to the another system that is present inside the body of ferritima, that is a nervous system. So in ferritima, the nervous system of the body of the ferritima actually consists of the nerve ring is present, and the double ventral nerve cord is also present in the body of the ferritima. So as we know that the part of the elementary canal, 4, 5, 6, the segments are present in this the elementary canal that you studied. The mouth is present in the first segment, up to the third buccal cavity is present, fourth pharynx, and then from the 5 to 7 esophagus is present. Now when it comes to the nervous system of ferritima, it is provided with a nerve ring is present, and nerve ring in ferritima is actually formed by a brain that is exactly located in the third and the fifth segment, a pair of ganglia that are located in the third and fifth segment. We consider it as suprapharyngeal ganglia or cerebral ganglia, or simply we can call it as a brain or the cerebral ganglion. Below the pharynx in the fourth segment, you have got another pair of ganglia are present, and that is called subesophageal ganglion. And these two structures are get connected by a pair of connectives that are present, and which are called which are present around the pharynx, circumpharyngeal connectives, and circumpharyngeal connectives, suprapharyngeal, subpharyngeal ganglia together constitute to form a nerve ring around the pharynx. And so this is one part of the nervous system. And then another one is from the subpharyngeal ganglia, a pair of nerve cords arises that run parallel to each other and extended from the fourth segment present up to till the last segment, and which is actually surrounded by the perineurium and visible as a single one. So we call it as double ventral nerve cord, and extended from the fourth segment till up to the last segment present below the elementary canal. And so these are the two main parts of the nervous system in ferritima. Now these are the cerebral ganglia, along with the cerebral ganglia responsible for the receiving of the nerves and from the different parts of the body, and the other nerves and the nerve system, all that integrate the sensory impulses and as well as the muscular responses of the body. And so the cerebral ganglia along with all the nerves and in the nerve ring that are present integrate the sensory impulses and that are receiving from all the sense organs, and as well as all the muscular activities that occur inside the body are the commanded from this particular part to respond as per the sensory input that is received. Then another one is the sense organs or the receptors that are present inside the body. The three different kinds of the sense organs are actually present. They are the tactile receptors, or the buccal receptors, or the photoreceptors. Tactile are the touch, which are distributed especially on the epidermal part, and they are mostly abundant on the ventral surface and the lateral sides of the body. They are epidermal receptors which are tactile in function, that is touch, and they are also called tango receptors. Then another kind of the receptors that are present inside the buccal cavity, and they are the taste receptors, and that serve especially the chemoreception, and they are especially respond to the chemical stimuli. Then the photoreceptors that are present on the epidermis on the dorsal side, but they are mostly abundant on prostomium and the peristomium. These regions are mainly provided with the photoreceptors, and because earthworm is actually sensitive to light, and the anterior part it is sensitive to light, it moves away from the light, it is negatively phototactic. So that's what the photoreceptors are actually abundant at the anterior end of the body. So most of the sense organs in case of the body of the Pheretima, they are actually concentrated on the anterior part of the body. So this is about the nervous system and the sense organs that are present in the body of Pheretima. Let's move on to the another next system that is present inside the body of Pheretima, that is the reproductive system. Pheretima is actually an animal that is provided with both the kinds of the male and female reproductive systems in the one animal, and so that kind of the animal is called a monoecious or hermaphrodite or bisexual. So even though it is a monoecious one or the bisexual or hermaphrodite, provided with both the kinds of the reproductive systems in the single animal, but always cross fertilization only occurs. Coming to the cross fertilization only occurs, the reason for that is it is protandrous, that means the testes mature earlier than the ovaries that are present in the same animal. So it undergoes the cross fertilization. Another more reason also we can give, like the male and female reproductive organs are not conveniently arranged inside the body of the Pheretima, so that to make the possibility of the self fertilization. So the cross fertilization only occurs inside the body of the Pheretima. Now coming to the male and female reproductive systems, now if you look at the male reproductive system, for example, it consists of mainly the two pairs of the testes are present, and they are located in the 10th and the 11th segments, one pair in each segment, and this is a one pair, this is another pair. So like that there are the two pairs of the testes are present in the one pair in each segment, that is in the 10th and 11th segments. And so then another main part is the vas differentians. There are the one pair on each ventrolateral sides, totally two pairs running from the 10th 11th segment till up to the 18th segment. The vas differentia are present, and which are responsible for the which conduct the sperms and through them. And then another one is a pair of the testis sacs are also present in the 10th and 11th, and another one is two pairs of seminal vesicles are also present, one pair in 11th, another pair in 12th. And so first pair, one pair in 11th and another pair, they are also called as septal pouches. And first pair that is present in the 11th is enclosed by testis sacs, but in the 12th they are not enclosed by the testis sacs. Only one pair are actually enclosed by the testis sacs. So they are actually the seminal vesicles. So coming to the testis, again testis in case of the Pheretima are responsible for the production of spermatogonia. They only produce the spermatogonia, that is the sperm mother cells, and they are released into the coelom, which is present inside the testis sac, and later they enter into these seminal vesicles, where they undergo the maturation division, and that is maturation division or the meiotic division, where the spermatogonia are get transforms into sperms or spermatozoa. So the reductional division, meiotic division, maturation division all occurs inside this seminal vesicles. Again, after the formation of the spermatozoa or sperms, from there again they find their way back to the testis sacs of the 10th and 11th end, from which they are get collected by these spermiducal funnels. And so, two pairs of spermiducal funnels are present, one pair in each segment, that is in the 10th and 11th end, one pair in 10th, another pair in the 11th, which are get collected, and from there they conduct through the all along the length to the these vasa differentia. Now, these vas differentia finally joins with the ductant which arises from the white irregular mass of the gland called prostate gland, and the prostate gland, from which the duct arises called prostatic ductant. Now, the prostatic duct and the vas differentia both are unite and result in the formation of common prostatic spermatic ductant. So, that results in the formation of a common spermatic and the prostatic ductant, and which finally opens outside on the ventrolateral side of the 18th segment as male genital apertures. So, a pair of the male genital apertures located on the ventrolateral side of the 18th segment, into which these vasa differentia along with the prostatic duct actually get opens. So, all these parts constitute to form the male reproductive system. Then coming to the female reproductive system, in the attached to the 12 by 13 intersegmental septum in the 13th segment, a pair of ovaries are present, and which are responsible for the production of ova, and those ova after their maturation release the ova into the coelomic fluid of 13th segment. From them, that is the ova are get collected by a pair of oviducal funnels which are also present at the same segment. Now, these two oviducal funnels continue behind as oviducts, which pierce the 13th by 14th segment, enters into the 14th segment. In the 14th segment, they both are united and finally opens outside on the midventral side of the 14th segment as female genital aperture. So, ova produced from the ova released into the coelom, which are get collected by oviducal funnels and passes through the oviduct, finally opens they finally sent through female genital aperture. So, that is about the female reproductive system. In addition to that, there are the other structures are also associated in the body of the Feritema related to the reproductive function. They are spermathecae. So, there are at about 4 pairs of spermathecae are present in the segment 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 pair in each segment. So, they are called spermathecae. They are especially the responsible for receiving of only the sperms of the other earthworm at the time of copulation. At the time of copulation, they only receive that one. So, it is actually provided with two structures are present. A pear-like ampulla, a small diverticulum-like function, and a small end. So, pear-shaped and ampulla, a small diverticulum and blind tubular part. So, ampulla and diverticulum, these are the two parts of the spermathecae which helps in storage and the nourishment. So, these are the 4 pairs. They are responsible for the receiving of the spermatophores actually of the other earthworm at the time of the copulation. So, these are all the different types of the structures that are present in the body of the Feritema. And coming to the an act of copulation which occurs in case of the Feritema, it is an interesting one. So, the two earthworms and both the mature after the earthworms get mature, the two earthworms, mature earthworms come outside from the burrows and they come to lie in such a position, juxtaposition. So that male genital apertures of the one earthworms comes in contact with the spermathecal openings of the other earthworm. So, two earthworms from the edge and burrow come outside and unite with their ventral surfaces and lie in a juxtaposition in such a way that male genital apertures of the one earthworm comes in contact with the spermathecal openings of the other earthworm, and in such a way they come in contact with each other. And during this act of the copulation, there are the 2 pairs of the axillary glands are present actually. Axillary glands which are located in the 17th and 19th segment. So, 1 pair in each segment there are the axillary glands are present. These axillary glands secrete some secretions but helps in or assist in assist in the act of copulation, especially helps in binding the two earthworms in the copulation. The male genital apertures are raised in the form of the small projections which are called papillae that are get inserted into the spermatical openings, helps in the transfer of the spermatophores. So, two earthworms that are participating in the act of copulation mutually exchange the packets or the bundles of the sperms or spermatozoa. We call them as spermatophores. So, they mutually exchange the spermatophores and they are received by the spermathecae and are stored in the diverticulum. In Pheretima, spermatophores are actually stored in diverticulum. Ampulla is responsible for the storage, providing the nourishment to the sperms. So, the act of the copulation almost lasts for 1 hour, and within this 1 hour they exchange the earthworm. After they get exchanged the spermatophores, and the act of the after the period of the 1 hour, both the worms get separated. Coming to the cocoon formation, as you see that the clitellum is present in the 14, 16, 17 segment. It is a glandular girdle-like structure. This is actually the glandular part of the clitellum. Function is to secrete some secretions. These secretions slowly started hardens around the clitellum and result in the formation of a cocoon structure. And as this cocoon, as it get exposes to the outer atmosphere and it get hardens and slowly result in the formation of cocoon. And this cocoon first receives the ovum from the female genital aperture, and then earthworm started wriggling backwards, so that moving the cocoon forwards, so that it also first receives the ova, then it receives the sperms from the spermatical openings, and later it also receives some amount of the albumin, that nutritive material from the glands which are located at the anterior segments, and that is in the preclitellar region. Now, as this it receives the ova, next sperms and also the albumin, and gradually the cocoon is get released from the body of the earthworm, especially from the anterior end. And now both the ends of this the two ends of the cocoon are get closed, and as soon as it is get released from the body of the worm. Now, an earthworm after an act of the copulation, it can able to form the many cocoons in succession after each mating. So, many cocoons can be formed in succession after each mating. And then inside the cocoon, as we are provided with both ova and the sperms, so they undergo the fertilization. So, fusion occurs within the cocoon or inside the cocoon. So, fertilization occurs outside the body, inside the cocoon. So, we call it as external fertilization. And not only that, the development also occurs inside the cocoon. So, fertilization is over, then the development occurs. So, zygotes are formed and the development gets starts, and it requires about a duration of 3 weeks and almost. So, each cocoon produces an average of 4 earthworms from each cocoon, even though many zygotes are formed. But on an average 4 earthworms actually comes out in a period of 3 weeks. And then as the earthworm directly comes out and there is no actually the larval stage, so the development is regarded as direct, as there is no larval stage in the life history, we call development is regarded as direct. Coming to the that's what the entire the reproductive system, it's and its the development and up to the development. Coming to the economical important aspects, and as you all know that earthworms are actually considered as the friends of a farmer, and because they make the small burrows of the soil, and entire the soil entire that area makes into the porous, and facilitating the respiration, and also helps in the penetration of the plant roots, and that is a one important function. That's why it is regarded as, so they enrich the soil with the nitrogenous waste materials and also makes the soil porous. So that's why they are actually regarded as the friends of a farmer. Then soil part, whatever the food material that is ingested by these earthworms, and especially enriched with the dead decaying organic matter and the debris and the leaves and tissues, all are present. They are broken down into the smaller pieces and they are get digested, and inside the, and they digested and decayed the vegetation from the soil, and finally that are get deposited in the form of worm castings, and they are enriched with the nitrogenous waste materials, and which are keep on adding to the soil, and so which are used by the plants in turn, and that's why they are responsible for the increasing the fertility of the soil, and by giving these nitrogenous waste materials to the soil. And the process of increasing the fertility of the soil by earthworms, and involving the process called the worm composting, and the earthworms are also used by the used as a bait, and in case of the fishing, and there are the certain countries in which the earthworms are also used as a food, and in some countries, and like the China, Japan and Myanmar and Australia, and many tribal communities and in India also use the earthworms in the form of medicine, and for cure the bladder stones, especially in the jaundice, piles, in all the diarrhea, and earthworm finally it's used as a bait in fishing. So this is all about the a complete type study of the earthworm, and starting from its morphological characters, and also the various systems that are present inside the earthworm, along with its development and its economic importance. And